Hey y'all, this is Treacherous Slayer coming at y'all with another video, and before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now tonight we're getting into Final Destination's Bloodlines, the spoiler-free review, and y'all, I told y'all I was going to be the first one in the theaters when it dropped because it was definitely worth the wait. Now y'all, based off the trailer, if y'all watch the trailers, y'all definitely should go see this film because I will say the trailer definitely doesn't spoil anything that you think is going to be predictable within the movie. Like, you'll think one thing happens and you're going to be like gagged like by the end of it because I was super surprised. So we're introduced to like the general characters. It's set in the 50s in the beginning of the movie, I believe, because the fashion in the beginning reminded me of the 50s fashion style and everything. So we're introduced to Iris, the grandmother of the main characters that we get introduced to in the movie, as she gets her first premonition and decides which action to take once, she receives the vision. And y'all, I would say that opening scene is definitely the deal breaker in terms of the best out of the franchise. Like, it was so gruesome and violent. Like, I didn't even think you can make something so subtle as a restaurant so dangerous. Besides what we've seen in the past films, it was just the tone of this film just reminds you, like, okay, this is why we have the previous films in the franchise, and it just shows you how petty death can be. Because y'all, these deaths up in this movie were very petty, like super petty. Like, that opening scene was completely diabolical. Like, I was not expecting half of the deaths in that scene to occur. Like, that was insane. Like, it was so insane. And like, poor Iris, like that vision, that took a lot of strength to deal with, because I'm like, what is happening? And if you're a Final Destination fan, you'll notice little bits and details from previous death scenes that happened in other films in terms of the opening scene. Like, you could put two and two together, little Easter eggs here and there if you really pay attention to the details. I'll say the team was very attentive to the details when creating the set design and the dialogue and the storytelling. It was just top tier. And like I said, Final Destination Bloodlines, the opening was definitely chef's kiss, because like, I was not expecting that. Like, I'm still in shock from half the crazy ideas that this team has came up with, because I'm like, okay, now who thought of this? Like, we need to have a lot of discussion, because that was insane. And we meet the main characters, I would say, are Stephanie and Charlie. They're like a brother and sister duo. I would say they're like the main focus of the film in terms of trying to stop death and everything within their family, since we all know from the trailer, obviously death is coming for their family. So Iris obviously gives Stephanie the book to how she, dodged death all these years leading up to the events that we have now. So we're also introduced to Eric, who is Stephanie and Charlie's cousin, and Bobby, who is Eric's younger brother, and Julia, which is Eric's younger sister as well. So Eric, Bobby, and Julia are cousins to Stephanie and Charlie, hence the Final Destination Bloodline title. So yeah, it definitely is running in the family, because y'all, I'll say Eric, he was definitely the comic relief of this film. Like, it was crazy how they're going through these diabolical ass deaths, and they're able to like crack a joke here and there. And may I add, Tony Todd's performance, he did a wonderful job in keeping that mysterious aura that he has carried within the previous films in terms of being the messenger of death, for trying to help the main characters navigate on how to defeat death, or, cheat death. You know, he gave his advice and, you know, said, okay, now it's all up to y'all. Good luck. Just like he said in the trailer, he definitely told them good luck, because they definitely needed that damn good luck, y'all. Because when you go watch this movie, and like I said, the pacing is a bit tedious in the beginning half, but it's worth it because you have to get to know the characters. So I get what they were doing in terms of character development. I think they did a pretty good job on building up the tension and really, you know, just surprising us with the death scenes, because a lot of characters that I expected to make it, you know, didn't make it. So that was definitely an eye-opener for me too. So if you watch the trailer, you should definitely go check this out, because I would say the trailer does not spoil anything you're not gonna see. So yeah. And also, this movie, out of the whole franchise, definitely a 12 out of 10 for me. It really surpassed my expectations. I was not expecting it to be such a good prequel type film. You know, it was definitely a good prequel story. I love how it became like a prequel, but then kind of blended into you can consider, say, a legacy sequel in a sense. Minus, you know, a few legacy characters who we know that could have maybe survived in the previous films, but besides Tony Todd's character. So that was a good, you know, aspect that I really enjoyed while watching this film, and as a Final Destination fan. Also, I will say you really love how Death's lore is tweaked a bit in this film. It plays with the rules just a little differently than we're familiar with in the previous film, so I definitely enjoyed that aspect as well. And like I said, Eric's definitely he was definitely one of my favorite characters. Julia, yeah, she you know, is that typical toxic, you know, rude ass cousin that everyone has. Like, yeah. And Bobby, he's just like, he just gives me, you know, jockhead like tease like the whole movie, but has a heart of gold. You know, he still needs his ass beat for leaving that piece of glass and that nice cup of Sprite. Like, I'm gonna just wasted all that nice pop. But oh my gosh, y'all, yeah, y'all definitely need to go see this movie. Like, for real, like, especially if you're a Final Destination fan, definitely go check out Final Destination Bloodlines, because you will definitely not be disappointed. And like, as Stephanie, who is the main character, obviously, she, you know, explains to them, like, look, like Grandma Ira said, like, death is coming for our family. And I will say, I love how realistic the reactions were to Stephanie's dilemma in terms of how the family was dealing with this news that death was attacking them and everything. And I applaud the writers for doing such an exceptional job with incorporating that realism into this film specifically. And so these death scenes, y'all, they are very visceral and violent, so brace yourselves. Definitely brace yourselves on impact, because y'all definitely gonna be kind of shuddering a little bit with a few, especially in the opening. Y'all, that opening, oh my gosh. That was like, oh, that was crazy. But definitely, I'll say one of the best openings in the whole franchise thus far. So, yeah. Like I said, I'm not spoiling anything. Y'all definitely just need to go check it out for yourselves, especially if you, like I said, you're a Final Destination fan. So, yeah, I'm Treacherous Slayer, and y'all comment below if you've seen the movie already, and what are your thoughts? Like, did you expect the ending that we received? So, I'm Treacherous Slayer, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.